If you're still losing money trading Forex in 2026 with all of this free information available online and literally everywhere else, you should stop right now. You should watch this video and rethink absolutely everything that you're doing. Losing money, well, in trading is normal, right? But if you're blowing accounts, it basically means not only you're not a profitable trader, you are not a trader at all, right? Because you're basically throwing money away. It's like putting all of your cash together on a pile, pouring, gasoline all over that, and just, lighting that shit, just letting it burn. It's basically the same thing. And I want to explain to you exactly how you should act and exactly what you should do in order to stop that from happening. Now, if you've ever read any of my stuff on Reddit, you will know that I'm pretty big on risk management, right? And there's a very, very specific reason for that. Risk management, risk control, whatever the term you want, is the most important piece of the puzzle, the most important part of your knowledge book, the most important thing in trading, right? Because with risk management, the downside is you will limit your gains, right? You will limit your returns. But the upside and the most crucial part of trading is you will also limit your losses. Oh, but I don't want to limit my wins. I want to win big. No, you want to lose small. That's the goal in trading, right? Wins come, wins go, whatever. But losses are literally the only thing you can control, right? So position sizing, risk management, blah, blah, all that good stuff is 100% necessary for any real trader. So just to recap everything I've said so far, nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, can have 100% win rate. That means that sometimes you will win, sometimes you will lose, right? So by applying risk management tactics, you will gain a certain level of control over your capital. Because no matter the outcome of any singular trade, your negative potential is under control, meaning you already know what the worst case scenario of that trade is, right? Because you manage risk. So if you lose a trade, you know how much money you will lose. You also know how much money you will win if the trade's a winner. But winners, like I said, are not important because nobody knows when you're going to win and nobody knows when you're going to lose. And that's the whole point of trading, right? And that's the whole point of this simple mathematical concept behind risk management. Because of not knowing what will happen next, we have to manage risk. How many times did you deposit money and you were like, you know what, let me full port this, let me make 10x my capital in a couple of minutes, and that absolutely went against you and smashed your stuff into oblivion? So the principles of risk management are actually very, very simple. Depending on how much capital you have deposited to your trading account, you have to determine how much money will you risk per trade. The retail industry standard would be 1% risk per trade. Every single system also needs a risk target, right? So the most common one would be 1 to 2 and 1 to 3 in risk to reward. So for every unit that you risk, a winning trade would provide 2 units of return in the 1 to 2 example and 3 units of return in a 1 to 3 example, right? So let's say you're trading a 1 to 2 in risk to reward system, so risking $1 to get $2 if a trade is a winning trade, and losing $1 if the trade is a losing trade. With any level of consistency, let's say you can achieve a 50% win rate. So taking 100 trades, losing 50 of them would mean that you're down 50 units of risk, and winning the other 50 would mean that you're up 100 units of risk, right? So if we consider that you're down 50 and you're up 100 units of risk over a 100 trade sample, that would mean that you would net 50 units of risk in that particular sample. Of course, from then on out, you're deducting swaps, you're deducting other costs of trading, for example, commission, blah, 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 right? Irrelevant at this point. The main thing is that you have to understand what's going on. we are looking at the bigger picture here. We're looking, I don't know, let's say you could take 100 trades in a year. You could take 100 trades maybe in 2 years, right? So you know that, well, you don't know, but you presume because of the data you collected, but we'll talk more about that in a separate video, that you can manage a 50% win rate with 1 to 2 in risk to reward. Of course, you could, we could do calculations for 1 to 3 again, and in that case, you would know, what the results would be like, and if you were trading a 1 to 3 in risk to reward. But the point I'm trying to make is, we're looking at the bigger picture here, right? We do not care about a singular trade. We don't care about 5 of them or even 10 of them in a row, because statistics say that even, if you have a 50% win rate, you're going to lose maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 trades in a row in the next, I don't know how many trades, right? The larger the trading sample, the bigger the odds of your consecutive losers and winners, of course, are. It is literally impossible to blow an account if you follow simple risk instructions, right? You set up a risk structure for your system. You risk 1% per trade. Every single trade, you have a fixed target ratio, or you have a dynamic target ratio. It really doesn't matter. The most important thing is that you control losses, right? You can minimize losses. You can lose a tiny bit of your account every single loss you take. So even if you take 50 losses in a row, you would technically lose 50% of the account, which is by all means a whole lot, right? But you're still in the game. You're still living. You're still kicking and breathing, right? You're still in the fight. The goals are still there. The targets are still there, right? But not if you're blowing accounts. Blowing accounts in 2026 is really stupid. You should not be trading if you're blowing accounts in 2026. And please, for the love of God, people, stop it with the excuses. Stop it with the, oh, but my psychology is bad. No, your psychology is not bad. You just don't understand what you're doing. You don't know how to trade, period. That's it. Trading is literally so simple. You don't have to be the best trader in the world to make money. Far from it. All you have to do is manage risk, right? The worst thing that can happen to you once you start managing risk is that you're a slightly losing trader, or that you're a break-even trader. There's a couple of other things you have to add on top of that to completely and 100% make it in this game. But risk management is the core of all operations. Risk management is the bread and butter in this business, and people who don't understand that are absolutely not traders.